Good evening, morning, afternoon, and night, ladies and gentlemen. So now I'm going to introduce you to Chataigne, which is an incredible open source program made by a friend of mine, Benjamin Kupperberg in France. And it's an incredible in-out conductor program that synchronizes many different things, and it's used for shows and other such things, which is how I came across it in my performance career. But it just so happens it's an incredible tool that I've been using to prototype and synchronize with the SerenSpecs, and it works amazingly and you can use it. So I'll make you a tutorial now, and you can do some really advanced stuff. As advanced as possible, you can pull it off with this program. So this is really high level, and you can do some very basic things if that's all you want to do. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing you need to do is download the software. So you head to benjamin.kupperberg.fr/Chataigne/en, or just type Chataigne, as spelled there, Chataigne, into Google or Brave or whatever your search engine is, and you will find your way here. Then you want to come down, have a little read about this, look into his work. It's a very impressive piece of software. Download the version that's applicable to you and install it. I am sure most of you who've done this a million times, you don't need the details of like clicking of where to put it into your computer and whatnot. So I'm going to skip straight ahead then. So you'll find on my website or in a link below, there will be a save file, a .noisette, which is the name of the save files for Chataigne. And that will be called the SerenSpecs noisette. And you can head onto there, and then once your program is installed, you load up this noisette. And what that will then look like, once you've got it all loaded up, and it looks a little something like this. So this is the main Chataigne page. Don't be too intimidated by all of the numbers and everything going on here. It's actually quite manageable. So first things first, controls. We have here in the middle what's called a state machine. And so of all of these crazy things going on, only these two boxes in the middle are the important ones, and that's also quite loosely. So each of these lines in here controls a function, which is also controlled within the web app in one of the other videos about what you do access directly from the device. So stop all, when you click on trigger, that will stop everything from happening. Start manual mode, start experience, the default experience mode, set the colors to red, white, or color. The color picker here, if you click on the color picker and then you come over to the right here, you have this number down here from 0 to 255. And if you plug that in, it will update the color based on that scale, that bit scale. Random color, click on that, it just creates a random color. That will only work if it's in color mode, if you set it to color mode. Yeah, let's change that, set color mode. Good. Then on this side, we have the bilateral functions. Max duty sets it to the maximum brightness, which is sometimes very helpful. Shut down if you need to shut down the device. And then these two here, XP on equals true and false. We'll get to that later. That's for very custom things, so don't worry about that. Just as a quick side, here we have the live music processing, and that would take the value that would come from the microphone, but we'll do that as a separate mission later. It is possible to also have it processing the audio being played through the computer, through the device that you're on, but that takes a little bit more technical setup, and there's a bit more of a complication to it. So we'll do that in another video. Okay, good. So first things first, we want to make sure everything gets connected. So up here on the top left, we have the modules. We have the sound card, and then home and AP mode. Now, AP mode is if you're connected to the SerenSpecs Wi-Fi. So if you connect to its Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi called SerenSpecs, then you would use this one and you switch this on. As you can see, I get this little caution triangle, which means it's not working because my device is actually connected to home. So I'm going to move myself out of the way a little bit here because home is my device has switched itself off and disconnected. So I will reconnect it now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It turns blue. It will turn blue for a minute whilst it's scanning and then connects to the Wi-Fi. And then now it's connected to the Wi-Fi. And you'll see here down in the bottom right corner, it has connected to SerenSpecs.local at port 1099. So that's all connected and linked up. I will deactivate this for now. So now when I trigger commands on here, it sends it to the device. So if I say set red and I put it on manual mode, there we are, it's on red. If I put it onto white, it will turn white. Set color mode, and then click on this random color, then it just alternates through colors. I can also come here and then set a specific color, like I believe 70 should be green. There we go. And 140 will be in the blue region, I think. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Red, and then stop all switches off. Very straightforward. Yeah, also, I'll just do it just so it gets seen. We have bilateral V1, bilateral V2, bilateral off, and stop all again. Great. So that's that in a nutshell. Those are the direct controls. Nothing particularly fancy here compared to what you can already do with the device. So the reason that we have this program is for the audio synchronization. That's where it gets really interesting to sequence control. So down here in the bottom, we have what's known as the time machine. And this is where you'll create a timeline and then you can work with that. So we click on the plus here to create a new sequence. And you have basically one sequence per track. Now, one of the caveats is, of course, you need to have an MP3 or an equivalent, some file, some music file on your computer. And we can't link this with audio, with Spotify and SoundCloud, etc. just yet. So this would be sequence. I would rename that to whatever song you're going to use. Then I would come on here and add audio. Okay, so we have this here now, and I'm going to double click on here. You can't see the window popping up, I don't think, because of OSB. And I have a very nice track I got, which is royalty free, because that would be good for YouTube. This is Dawn of Change by Roman Cynic. So this now loads up the track. So you can see if I press spacebar or press play here in the corner to play and pause, it will play the track. Good. Next stage. I'm going to right click on this little box here next to audio. Right click. You might not be able to see this pop up, but there's a small pop up with 3 options, and we want the top option, which is export envelope layer to new mapping layer. Click on that. Depending on the size of the audio file, the length and the type, if it's a WAV or a FLAC, it's going to be take a lot longer to process because there's a lot more detail. This will then create this mapping layer underneath. First things first, we go to the range remap mode, and we want to click on that and change that to proportional from absolute. There's only 2 options, so switch it to proportional. Then right click here on the mapping layer, and there's 2 options, and we want change all easings, and we want to change them to hold. Okay, now if we hold down shift and mouse scroll, we'll zoom in. And if you scroll up, you zoom in, scroll back, you zoom out. And so what you'll see is that all of the points have become like squares. The original is they're very curvy and blended together. And for our particular use case, the SerenSpecs, hold is better. So there's that. Now the last step is we right click on, we go up here to the state machine, we go up to envelope processing, we go to copy paste, right click, and the second to bottom option is copy outputs. Copy the outputs. Here, I will move myself out the way for this so you can see it. If I click on here, here we have the mapping output. So we're copying that, but you do it from here. Copy paste, copy outputs. Then you come down to mapping again to this area here, right click on mapping and paste outputs. Bloop. And you'll see now that this mapping output has been put up here. It should be custom variables, variable envelope map equals this with a link. And then that means that they're all linked up. Now what happens is if I press play on here, you will see that this changes and this changes these values up here, which then changes these values here, which are sending information to my device. Bottom right here, there's a lot of messages coming out, and that is now receiving the data. So I'll zoom out from the track so you can see what's happening. So it's cleverly transforming the envelope data from the audio into flicker light experience. This is a very powerful transformation of audio into light visual experience, and very nicely done. So the algorithm that I have built into here, you can use it. Help yourself, tweak it, improve upon it. You can see how it works with a little bit of fiddling. Great. Let's stop on there. Okay. Now, the last layer, or not the last layer, but another layer that can be added is quite literally you come here to add this little plus button here, and you can add trigger. Now this creates like an open field in which you can add manual areas. So I can see, so for example, if I zoom in, I can see that at this point, something interesting is happening in the music. Let's listen, shall we? Okay, great. So there's a little like drop and a flow here. So what I can do is at this point where that, there we are, where that symbol kicks in, which is around about here, I can double click and that creates a trigger. Now I'm going to move myself back down again, so I'm having to jump up and down all day long here. And over here, what we can do is if we click on this trigger here and we come up to the top right, we then have another plus button up here. So I press plus on here, then you have a lot of options. So what you want to go to is state machine action and then trigger action. So state machine action, trigger action. And then it comes up with another little window, and you do target, click to select an element, click on there, and then it's either in, and then your options are, it then gives you an option to pick anything of these. So here's where you can start playing around with different features like this. So for example, let's say at this point I wanted to add in bilateral stimulation V1. I would go click select an element, TCP basic, because that's the title up here. You see TCP basic, and then bilateral stimulation V1. Great. Astute people there will have noticed that I quickly changed these from what they had previously labeled to bilateral simulation, which is the more appropriate term. Before I was using EMDR, which is not right because that is a therapeutic style, not necessarily what we are doing here. Although the mechanism, fundamental mechanism is theoretically the same, they are different things. I would definitely rename this trigger so that it's easy to see. So we have beat bilateral V1. Then let's say I can Control C that. And if I zoom out and go, okay, I want it to last until, yeah, something interesting is happening here. Just Control V, oh, and there we have it, bilateral V1. And here I can change this from up in the top right corner, from on to off, and then rename this. So this is can be a little bit tedious, but it allows for those who really want to get into the nuances of experience design within a Flickr light experience to really get into the weeds. The basic envelope mapping provides a really powerful baseline, and then from there you can build upon that and make another level. It is also possible, if I zoom in on this area here, on the mapping here, that I can just move these things around. So I can customize this as much as I want. I find in my experience it's not needed. The algorithm that's built into Chataigne and that I've expanded upon is perfectly adequate. But of course, the entire part of my thesis with the SerenSpecs, part of the entire purpose is it's your brain. Only you know what's going to work. So you need to explore and you need to experiment and find out what's going to work for you and what you like and what helps. So another part of my thesis for the SerenSpecs, and one of the reasons I decided to make my machine, other than the cost difference of them being excruciatingly expensive, and they don't need to be, is the music factor. That most of the models on the market offer a range of selection of tracks and programs that they have custom made and say, here we have done the research for you, these are what's good for you. And I fundamentally disagree with the principle of that. I think that your music that you have familiarity with and that you know gets you into specific states is going to be more effective than anything a master composer makes, right, for you. That's meant to be for you and meant to do these things. Plus, I mean, unless you're Hans Zimmer, it just doesn't work like that. Like, you have your taste, you have your styles, you have your essence. And so the purpose of being able to do this and being able to load up your music and customize it to your needs means that you get a much stronger effect. That your familiarity with your music and having that synchronized with the light is going to be much more effective than something some other composer tells you is they think will be good for you. And in complete honesty, if you look at the other models on the market, they don't have any research done in this field. It's not as though there's any like papers or anything that kind of supports this argumentation. It's just it's a thesis and totally valid. Like most users want a simple click play, works great, I get my effect. But I think I'd like to offer this this other layer. So this is the program that does that for now. This is super advanced. I'm still working on the automatic algorithm that will be integrated into the app. I have it in my own version, but getting it to production level is a whole other question. So that's on the way. It will definitely be here by the end of summer, and at the very latest, the end of the year, in a smooth format. So a huge thank out to Benjamin Kupferberg for making this incredible piece of software. Chataigne is amazing. I use it for so many other things. So many of my art projects, I use it for this. So do feel I recommend that you go and buy him a coffee. You know, slip him something on the Patreon or a donation. And if on the topic of music, this is another element. Lots of the people I spoke to, my early testers, don't have MP3s. They don't have their own collection of music. I do. I'm a bit old school like that, but I can highly recommend. What I do instead is, instead of paying for a Spotify subscription, I would take that same money and I spend it on Bandcamp. So I use Spotify and SoundCloud for music discovery, and then when I find something I really love, an artist I really love, I will go to their Bandcamp and I will buy their music. And I think the cut they get is something like 80% or 60%. It's like a very large number. So if I spend €5 on an album from an artist, then they will get €3 to €4 of that. I have to listen to thousands of their songs on Spotify to give them anywhere near that if I'm a pro subscriber or not. So from that point, I would say if you find the music that you like, that you really want, you can be very selective with it, and then go buy them on SoundCamp and give the artist some love, the artist that you love some love, and then you have that file and you can use it with Chataigne, and make that work for you. Good. That's Chataigne. If you have any questions or comments, please do put them down below. If you've got any extra layers or feedback or feature requests that you'd like me to add into this save file so that you can play around with it, or if you discover anything interesting, please let me know. I'd love to see how people develop this. So put it in the comments or reach out in the Discord or send me an email, anything. I'm quite happy to nerd out about this and hear what you are experiencing. And let me know what you create with this. I'm excited to see. So happy exploring. Ciao.